This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 150-inch.
On this episode, we travel back to 2011 and listen to my first interview with Weird Al Yankovic.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Oh, wow. How much fun was it to talk to Ruben Valtierra over the last two episodes?
Oh, Dave, it was so much fun. Ruben is always a blast to talk to, and he is certainly no stranger to controversy.
Oh, indeed. That is true. Now, remember in part 2 of the interview, I asked Ruben about the ghost story he told in one of your old interviews with him?
Oh, yeah, of course. Now, that was awesome to get to hear an update to that story from, Glenside, Pennsylvania. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Well, it got me thinking. We still have a few more of your interviews to listen to, so what if, for our milestone episode 150-inch, we listen to your interview with Weird Al?
Weird Al? That's a great idea, Dave! Oh boy, that was a crazy interview, and it almost didn't happen.
But it did happen, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Spoilers, Ethan, spoilers!
I don't think you have to say spoilers. I mean, this happened over 10 years ago.
Well, just to be on the safe side. Anyway, what was the story?
All right, well, so this was back in late 2011. This was after Alpocalypse came out, and I had been trying to get an interview with Al the whole time I was doing radio. This was probably, 3 years into my college radio career, and never was able to make it happen. And then he was coming to Albany, so I was able to get an interview through the venue, because the venue is like, hey, we want to promote the show, so they're more likely to be like, yeah, we'll do the interview. So that was like kind of the angle I was able to get the interview. So it was scheduled for October 5th, 2011, and the morning of October 5th, 2011, I had rented a studio, like an actual professional recording studio in Albany to record the interview, because I was just a kid. I didn't want to screw this up. I didn't want to mess up the audio. I think
you're talking to Weird Al. I mean, you have to rent an official studio if you're going to do that.
I was given 10 minutes to do the interview, and
okay.
I'm trying to think of what my setup was, but unless I was doing an interview live on the air on the phone, my way to pre-record interviews was pretty much put my phone on speaker and record that. And so it was really crappy. It didn't sound good. And so that's why I wanted to do it. I was like, I knew it was going to be a phone interview. I wanted it to be the best possible sounding phone interview. And I was a college student. It was not cheap to rent that out. So anyway, I wake up that morning and I have no voice.
Oh no.
The night before, my throat was a little scratchy, so I was trying to take it easy. I woke up that day, literally no voice. I could barely talk.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm
wow. I've been trying to get this interview with Weird Al for years. I finally have it. I'm supposed to call him, and it's not going to work. I was so stressed out. So I got in touch with Jay Levy, who I was dealing with directly at that point, and I just said, I feel horrible. This is a huge thing for me, and I can't do the interview today. And luckily Jay understood, and he was, I was for sure that I was never going to get to talk to Weird Al ever again. But what was also going to happen was what I would do on the college radio show is I would do the interview on my show with a comic or a performer, and then I would transcribe it and I would put it as a Q&A in the college newspaper just to give them extra promotion. So I was going to do that with this interview. So when I said I couldn't do the interview, I said, but I could do an email interview with Al, and I could still get that out into this week's newspaper. So, by the grace of gosh, Jay let me reschedule the interview, and he let me do the email interview. So I technically got 2 interviews out of it.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of a good outcome. But at the time, I was so nervous because I really didn't know if it was going to happen. But, I'd obviously prepared quite a bit for the interview. And so when it came time to send in my questions for the Q&A for the email, I took like all my best questions and I had to start over from scratch for the audio interview. But I did. I was able to get it rescheduled. I interviewed him officially 9 days later. It was on October 14th. And the studio, I had done a little bit of work with them, some paid work with them, so they were okay to reschedule, and they gave me a sweetheart deal. So it didn't end up being too expensive.
Oh, nice. Good.
It was Cotton Hill Studios. So if you're a fan of King of the Hill, Cotton Hill is the name of Hank Hill's dad.
Yes.
It had no relation. I don't know where the heck they got their name, but yeah, it had nothing to do with actual character Cotton Hill. I think they predated the show with the business. So I got the interview recorded, but the whole point was we were promoting Al's upcoming tour date in Albany, and my show was going to air, I believe, the night after Weird Al's show. So
Oh, no.
I had to actually like promote the show because that was the whole point of the interview. So I ended up getting my buddy Leon Ferry, someone I'm still in touch with, and he played my interview with Al on his radio show a few days before the concert.
Oh, nice.
So it did air there officially first, and then I aired it on my radio show, Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Allman, on WCDB Albany 90.9 FM and Comedy Pipe Radio. But it was a lot of fun. I was so happy that I hired that studio to do it. And so they recorded it, and they actually edited it for me. And I've seen Frank do audio editing, and he is, he's okay. But this guy, the guy who recorded it, Aaron, he went and he just like zipped around so fast. He edited the whole 10-minute interview in like 5 seconds. And
Wow.
It ended up getting cut down to closer to like 8.5 minutes. So I do have the unedited version somewhere, but this is the version where, some of the gaps are, I don't even know what he did. But so this is the version that aired that we're going to listen to today.
All right, well, Ethan, you sound really excited just talking about this interview. I cannot wait to actually hear it. So, Ethan, can we please check this interview out?
You're listening to Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Allman here on WCDB Albany. I've got the greatest guest ever on the show, Weird Al Yankovic. How's it going, Al?
That is too much to live up to. How am I going to follow that?
I don't know. I think whatever
The pressure is killing me, man.
I've interviewed Bermuda, Jim, Ruben, and Steve, so I think it's about time we do this interview.
You got to complete the whole collection.
That's right.
Here we
the
go.
collector set. All right. So my sources tell me that a couple of years ago, you were on a songwriting retreat and you wrote your first serious song in 15 years. Is there any chance we're going to hear that?
I don't know. It's up to the Hansons, I guess. I mean, it wasn't a song that I wrote by myself. I was just part of a songwriting brain trust. So it was like me and Taylor and a couple other people just kind of throwing out ideas.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even remember what the song was, but the whole experience was a whole lot of fun. I mean, if Taylor Hanson ever invites you to a songwriting retreat, I highly recommend it.
Okay. Now, is it tough though? Like, could you sit down and write a song and not have it be humorous or funny in any way?
It kind of is, because that's not really how my brain works. I mean, if for whatever reason my brain just kind of naturally twists things into odd shapes. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a different part of my brain to try to write a standard kind of pop song. I wasn't used to that.
Now, I know Ruben's 20-year anniversary is coming up. Is there anything planned for that?
No, not as such. I mean, we should, now that you mentioned, we should figure out when that day is, because I don't know off the top of my head when that would be. So we should definitely, have some kind of major celebration for that.
He said he's nervous he's going to get tar and feathered again.
Well, that's one of the options, certainly, yes.
So if someone was either going to buy the Comedy Central special or Alpocalypse HD, which one should they go for?
If you're on a limited budget, I would say probably, it depends. If they already have the Alpocalypse Deluxe edition of the album, that means that they have 10 of the videos already in the standard definition format. So if they do, then I would certainly highly recommend getting this Comedy Central special, because that means that you have the full concert show plus the Perform This Way and Polka Face videos and other
Right.
stuff. So I think if you're only going to get one at that point, go for the concert special.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get both. So.
Okay.
So now I'm just curious. Does your daughter understand just the like level of your fame? Does she understand that concept?
Well, more or less. I mean,
Yeah.
she's been with me many times in public when people were approaching me and interacting with me, and she understands. I think as much as she can, you
Mhm.
know, what my life is like, and she, she's very grounded and down to earth, and I don't think she's terribly affected by it in a
Okay.
negative way. I mean, she understands it. She's got friends who have famous parents, and it's just sort of like, okay, this is what Daddy does for a living, and that's how it works.
Right. Does she come on tour with you sometimes?
Well, every now and then. I mean, my wife and I have a plan that we try not to go more than 2 weeks without seeing each other.
Okay.
So even when the tours are long, and if I can't fly back to LA for a day or two, they will fly out on the road with me. So either a weekend or we try not to take my daughter out of school, but whatever makes the most
Yeah.
sense, we have them come out for just a kind of a day or two to just kind of touch base and reconnect. And because I talk to them every day, and I see them on Skype and FaceTime, but it's not quite the same thing as
Yeah.
being there.
Do you go to like PTA meetings or have her friends over? Do their parents just fawn over you?
Not as such. I mean, I live in LA, and
Right.
it's not like so bizarre to see a celebrity, and a lot of the people that go to my daughter's school are successful or famous, or it's not like people lose their minds.
Right.
So, it's I wouldn't say it's normal, but it's certainly not that unusual.
Now, you always record songs before you test them out on stage?
Generally, I mean, there might be an exception to that, but yeah, usually I would record it first before I would play it live.
Does that ever create like a problem, like you wish that you could change something or go back?
Well, on occasion, I mean, if a year after we've been playing it in concert, usually the band is so relaxed, and we've improved it a little bit, or we're more comfortable playing it, and probably if we were to go back and record it again, it probably would sound better than the original version. But that's not an option at that point. But that's that is something that I have to deal with, because a lot of times,
Right.
the first time I'll ever play something live will be like on The Tonight Show, which was the case with White and Nerdy. I think that was the first time we ever played the song live, was
Oh,
like
wow.
in front of millions of people, and it would have been nice if we'd done that at the end of a tour after we'd kind
Right.
of gotten really comfortable playing it. But a lot of times that's just not the way it needs to work out.
Mhm. Do you like tofurkey?
Yeah, I like it okay. I mean,
Right.
I'm vegetarian, so for
I am
Thanksgiving,
too.
that would probably be my meal of choice.
Okay. I think it's pretty good. I like it.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So now with the animated videos, how much like influence do you have on that, or do you just give it to the artist and let them do it?
It depends. Generally, I have very little influence on that. And
Okay.
I have as much as they want me to have. I always offer my support and say, I'll be as involved as you want me to be. But basically, these animators are people that I trust completely.
Yeah.
That's why I hired them. They're also, I'm not paying them top dollar. They understand that the record industry has crashed and we're on a limited budget. So part of the reason that they do it for below their normal rate is that I give them complete creative control. I let them
Right.
basically do what they want, and if I were paying them their top dollar, I'd be probably a lot more actively involved. But
Yeah.
part of what they get for that is that I leave them alone. And so, sometimes, like I said, sometimes they welcome guidance and they run things by me and I help them storyboard. And other times it's literally, here's the song, let me know when it's done.
Mm-hmm. Is there any chance you're going to go back and animate some of the past original songs that you have?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know really why I would do that at this point. Mostly I just try to concentrate on my current
Right.
stuff, just because that's what we're trying to promote right now. And I certainly wouldn't have any objection to doing that, but there's just really not money in the budget to go back and start doing back catalog.
Mhm.
I certainly welcome any fans that want to do their own animated videos to put them out there, and I always love seeing those.
Cool. I know we have to wrap up. I'm just wondering, how many interviews do you have to do a week? Is it tiring?
No, it's not so bad. I mean, I try to save my voice when I'm not on stage, so I just try not to do too much. But and it varies obviously from week to week. When I'm not on the road or promoting something, I generally don't do interviews at all. But I can't even give you a good estimate of an average. I mean, It really every day is different.
Is there one question that you just always get?
Yeah, the one question that I always get is, what question do you always get?
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy.
It's a never-ending cycle, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Al, thank you so much for calling in. This is quite an honor to have you on the show.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Great. Well, I'll see you in Albany. Very
Sounds
excited.
good. Thanks a lot.
All
Bye-bye.
right, thanks. Bye.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that interview with us, Ethan. There is so much great material in that interview, but I really hope someday we get to hear that serious song that he wrote during the songwriting retreat with Hanson. That would be incredible.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, I think I said, I had a source, or somehow I heard that you wrote this. I actually heard that from one of the Hanson brothers directly.
Oh, wow.
I had interviewed Zach Hanson on my college radio show, and I knew that they were fans of Al because he directed the music video and stuff. And so I was asking him about Al, and he mentioned the songwriting retreat and the thing. So I was really excited to get to ask Al something that he probably had never been asked before. So it was really cool to hear his response. And I agree. I would love to hear that.
Well, hopefully Zach Hanson still has a copy of that, and maybe one day he'll share it. Hopefully.
Well, as awesome as it was to listen to that interview that I did with Al back in 2011, it sure will not beat that interview that we're going to do with Weird Al on episode 2000 Inch that, we did do a preview of about, 3.5 hours of over 4 episodes on episodes 127 inch through 130 inch. But come on, Dave, it was not so bad for my first ever interview with Weird Al. You got to admit that.
Well, I mean, if you want to get technical about it, it was not your first ever interview with Weird Al. The email interview that you did predate that audio interview, so technically the email interview was your first ever interview with Weird Al.
All right, Dave, technically that is correct. You are right.
Do you still have that email interview? If you do, we could read it on the show.
Well, actually I do, but, we'll just have to read it later on this episode because, Dave, as we all know, it's time for This Week in Weird Al Related News!
Shortly after episode 149 inch of Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al podcast dropped last Wednesday, Weird Al shared on his social media that after only 18 days, shooting on Weird, the Al Yankovic story, is now finished.
I cannot believe they shot an entire film in just 18 shoot days. I am just so excited for this film, Dave.
Me too. I cannot wait for the final product. I hope editing only takes like 18 days as well.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. And, in a couple weeks, we can finally watch it.
Well, in other Weird, the Al Yankovic story-related news, the film's lead actor Daniel Radcliffe will be appearing on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon this Friday, March 18th.
Now, we don't know exactly what the topic of discussion will be, but we do know that both Jimmy Fallon and Daniel Radcliffe are huge Weird Al fans, so given that and the timing of the appearance, we can only hope and speculate that the subject will quickly turn to Weird Al and the film.
Yes, indeed. Let's hope so. And here's some exciting news. Rehearsals have started for Weird Al's upcoming unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour.
The news was confirmed when John Bermuda Schwartz posted a photo from the rehearsal over on the Facebook page of Ruben Valtierra, a.k.a. Rubemperor, a.k.a. El Maestro.
And be sure to check out episode 25-inch guest Judy Tenuta's Facebook page too while you're at it, because she posted a really cute picture of her and Al together that was also taken at the rehearsal.
Multimorphic, the company behind Weird Al's Natural Museum of Hilarity pinball machine, will be hosting a live gameplay reveal stream on Saturday, March 19th at 8 p.m. Burrito time, 5 p.m. Hollywood Star Time.
Be sure to tune in to twitch.tv/Buffalo Pinball for the live demonstration.
Oh, that's going to be fun. I can't wait to check that out.
Weird Al will be appearing on a different podcast, the George Lucas Talk Show.
This podcast is slated to air live tonight at 8 p.m. Burrito time, 5 p.m. Hollywood Star Time at planetscum.live.
This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito your Burrito, or hop on over to Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Troy to Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world plant-based real food. Always vegan style.
So visit burritosquared.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
So I'm watching the news and I see this news story about William Shatner getting a sandwich at Rain's Deli in Vernon, Connecticut the other week.
Real hard-hitting news in Connecticut. Wow, must have been a slow news cycle. Not like there's anything important going on in the world or anything.
Yeah, so in this news story, they have a picture of William Shatner at the deli, and I couldn't help but feel like I've seen something in that photo before.
Well, Dave, William Shatner is a legendary actor. He originated the role of Captain Kirk in Star Trek, and he starred in dozens of TV shows, films. He's released albums, released books. He even became the oldest person to ever go to space late last year in 2021.
No, of course I had seen William Shatner before. What I saw was a very familiar shoulder.
Well, William Shatner's shoulder originated the role of Captain Kirk's shoulder in Star Trek, and has been the shoulder seen in dozens of TV shows, films. The shoulder was part of the being that released albums, released books, and that shoulder even became the oldest shoulder to ever go to space late last year in 2021.
Well, how do you know the other shoulder was not older? Anyway, I'm not talking about William Shatner's shoulder. Ethan, it was your shoulder.
My shoulder?
Yes! What were you and your shoulder doing in Rain's Deli in Vernon, Connecticut with William Shatner?
Oh, we stopped for lunch.
Why were you having lunch with William Shatner?
We were hungry! Dave, you really need some common sense, man.
Oh, come on now, you know what I mean. Spill the beans, why were you there with William Shatner?
Okay, Dave. Well, as some people know, my side job when I'm not working on the podcast is I produce live entertainment, and I was producing a weekend of shows with Mr. William Shatner. And I'll just tell you it all, Dave. I'll tell you everything, because there are some Weird Al related things that happened over the weekend. So, all right. So, Dave, our first show was in Concord, New Hampshire, and that was where we were driving from when we stopped at Rain's Deli. I didn't even know what the place was called until I saw the news story. Anyway, so in Concord, it was really great. I got to meet Mr. Shatner for the first time. And one of his backstage guests was Tom Bergeron.
Oh, yeah, Tom Bergeron from Dancing with the Stars and America's Funniest Home Videos. I love that guy.
Oh, he's the best. It was so great. So I was backstage with them, and Tom was there, and his niece was there, the moderator. And I wasn't even part of the conversation at this point. And naturally, they just all start talking about how much they love Weird Al.
Oh, how cool. Are you sure you weren't part of that conversation? Are you sure you didn't steer that conversation that way?
I had, said hi to Tom and his niece, and, I spent a little bit of time with William Shatner, but I hadn't mentioned anything about Weird Al. I didn't say anything about Weird Al. I did have my 2000-inch hat on, but that doesn't scream Weird Al unless you're kind of in the know, unless you're kind of, familiar with the podcast. So they start talking about how much they love Weird Al. It started because they were talking about how great his TV show was, William Shatner's Raw Nerve, that interview show. And
right.
They were talking to some of the guests, And then someone brought up Weird Al, and then that's when they started talking about like, oh, that was such a great interview with Weird Al, and oh, I love Weird Al. I love seeing all of his updates about the movie on Instagram. He's so funny. Like, they were just going on, and so I just, like, I couldn't take it anymore. So I was just like, I'm sorry to interject, but I'm one of the world's biggest Weird Al fans, and I want to talk about him too. So I got to talk about the podcast a little bit and talk to them, and it was really cool to get to talk to Tom Bergeron and William Shatner and these people about Weird Al.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it wasn't even me bringing up the conversation, because I bring up Weird Al quite a bit, but this was totally not my doing. So the next day, Mr. Shatner and I were driving from Concord, New Hampshire to York, Pennsylvania, which was like an 8 or 9 hour drive. And yes, we stopped for lunch. And a guy asked him for a photo. And my shoulder is in that photo, and it made the news and went viral in Connecticut for some reason. And we're driving in the car. I mean, 9 hours in the car with William Shatner. I feel like there are people who would pay a lot of money to spend 9 hours in the car with William Shatner.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I was getting paid to do that. So
what did you guys talk about on your 9-hour trip?
we talked about everything. You know, we talked about different shows I'm working on, different projects he's working on. You know, he has some really great music albums that have come out, including ones where he's worked with Ben Folds. So it's really cool to get to ask him about that and
cool.
Talk to him about other stuff and just, everything, everything and nothing. And, sometimes we were just silent. Sometimes he was reviewing his book. We did take turns driving. I drove most of it, but he drove for a bit. But when he started driving, I said, hey, how about we put some music on? And he said, oh, good idea. We should listen to Weird Al.
Nice.
I'm like, whoa! Like, I obviously listen to a lot of Weird Al, but to people who are not huge Weird Al fans, I'm not going to force it down their throat and like be like, we have to listen to Weird Al,
Right.
But it was his idea, so I was like, well, okay.
Okay.
So since we were already talking about him working with Ben Folds, I said, hey, how about we listen to Weird Al song that Ben Folds plays on, and it's a style parody of Ben Folds music. So he's like, oh, great. So I played him Why Does This Always Happen to Me, and he loved it. He thought it was really great.
Oh, great.
So I played that, but I guess I played it from the Poodle Hat album, and it just started playing more songs from the Poodle Hat album. So it wasn't before long until eBay came on.
Right.
And eBay is the song that mentions I bid on Shatner's old toupee. So that sound came on. I was like, oh, this song mentions you.
So you listened to eBay with William Shatner. What did William Shatner think about the toupee line when that came up?
So, I gave him the preface that he's mentioned in the song, and he was driving at this point. So and he was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't really get a good view of his face, but we're driving and the line comes up and I point to the radio and I'm like excited, and he just kind of nods and listens to it, and he didn't have like a verbal reaction to anything. Okay. But after the song, he said he really liked that song. He thought it was really fun.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So he wasn't offended. He didn't drive off the road or anything. But it was pretty surreal. And we did actually also listen to Genius in France, which mentioned Star Trek. So that was kind of fun to have that also mentioned. We listened to a couple, and then, we had to take a phone call or something. So we didn't get to listen to Weird Al the whole 9 hours, but we did get to listen to a bunch, and everything he heard, he seemed to really enjoy. So that was really fun.
What an amazing experience, getting to not only travel with someone as iconic as William Shatner, but sharing a moment with him and both of you listening to Weird Al together. How awesome. How pretty stinking majestic that is.
It really was pretty stinking majestic. And it was also really cool because I got to see a couple of our fans and friends and supporters and stuff. I got to see Jeff McClelland, who we have talked to on the podcast before. And he came to the York, Pennsylvania show. So
nice.
I met up with him after the show. He brought his friend Jeff McComsey, who happens to be an artist and he is the guy who did that awesome Pittsburgh R2-D2 Strings Attached Tour poster with Jeff.
Oh, very nice. Awesome. I love that poster. Incredible.
It was awesome. So it was really cool to get to meet him and hang out and chat with Jeff. And Jeff also brought me a special present. He baked me these incredible Weird Al cookies. And he did post a picture of it on Twitter, and they kind of went viral. Weird Al liked it. Like, it was huge. So those cookies he posted ended up in my belly, and they were awesome. I did say to him, I was like, I don't know if I should, keep these or, try and preserve them. He's like, I can always make you more. So, Jeff, if you're listening, I want some more, because I ate them and they were great. We did Concord, we did York, Pennsylvania, and then we originally were going to stay overnight in York and then go up to our last show in Pittsburgh the next morning. But after the show, he was all jazzed up. William Shatner was like, let's just go to Pittsburgh tonight, and then we can sleep in tomorrow instead of driving. So we're like, okay. And it was a 3.5 hour drive. So he's like, oh, and it was me, him, and then this time we also had our tour manager, Dave. His name is also Dave. I didn't even think of that. Dave and Ethan, William Shatner, but it was the wrong Dave. We were driving there, and it was going to be 3.5 hours. And William Shatner was like, oh, I'll drive the first leg, and then you guys can each do an hour after that. Well, that didn't end up happening because William Shatner drove us the entire way, the 3.5 hours to Pittsburgh. It took him less than 3 hours.
Wow.
He was just flooring it the whole time. I was like, warp speed, Captain Kirk. He was going over 100 miles per hour. It was amazing. I was scared for my life, but also really excited that I would have this amazing story. So it was great. We then got to do the Pittsburgh show, and I got to see our friend, supporter, and fan, Jeremy Samples. So it was really great to see him. Nice. And I know we'll probably see him a bunch on the upcoming tour. So it was very cool, and it was very surreal. And I got to play William Shatner eBay for the first time. So that's kind of a feather in my cap, I guess.
That's an incredible story. You couldn't make that up if you tried. That's an incredible story. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Ethan.
Of course, Dave. Yeah, my crazy side hustle there. Well, okay. So while I was traveling the galaxy with William Shatner, I know you actually were doing some fun stuff. What were you up to, Dave?
Well, I don't know if I can top your William Shatner story, but I did actually take a little vacation myself. I spent a week in Las Vegas.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few Weird Al related things, I guess, happened on the trip. I was kind of just walking around, checking things out. It's been a long time since I've been there, over 2 years.
Wow.
And, a lot has changed. Yeah, a lot has changed, since I've been there. And a couple of things I noticed is that there seems to be a lot more Weird Al themed slot machines than there were the last time I was there.
Really?
Some of these might be a stretch. They might fall in your Gloria Stewart category of whether it's Weird Al related or not. There's actually a machine dedicated to Madonna.
Oh.
And of course, Madonna, besides the like a surgeon connection, there's probably going to be something going on with Madonna in this upcoming Weird the Al Yankovic story film. Because, you don't get someone like Evan Rachel Wood to play Madonna if you're not going to have a pretty significant role in the film, my guess.
Absolutely. Well, plus we know from the trailer that, Weird Al dates and kisses her in the movie. So it'll at least be an iconic scene.
Yeah, so then there was another slot machine, and this one you might think is a little bit of a stretch, but there was a slot machine that actually had Drew Carey on it.
Really? Was it a Drew Carey slot machine, or Price is Right? Or what was
not quite. It was a Price is Right slot machine, but Drew Carey was featured on it, so that is sort of a Weird Al connection.
Yeah, he's of course in the "It's All About the Penniums" music video, and he's mentioned in Couch Potato. Right,
he's been on the Weird Al show. There are a lot of connections between Drew Carey and Weird Al, yeah. Some slot machines have, like cherries or bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there were several slot machines that actually had accordions.
Really?
As, one of the possibilities.
Did you play any of these machines, and did you win it big on any of them?
I played the Madonna machine, and I did not win on that one. And I've played the machines with the accordions before. I didn't play them on this time out there, but I've played those machines before.
Oh, cool.
They're slot machines.
Very cool.
I did take the opportunity to see some shows while I was out there, and at least one of them was sort of Weird Al related.
Okay.
And when I'm out there, I always see, and I always recommend these, go see Penn and Teller. I went to go see them. They were amazing.
They're the best.
Yeah, go see Piff the Magic Dragon.
Oh, nice.
He's in a brand new theater. His show is absolutely amazing as well. And there's several others that I recommend to go see. But there's one that I saw for the first time, and that is Michael Jackson's One by Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, besides, the Michael Jackson connection, to Weird Al, so I won't get too much into the show, but, basically the show's about, they put dance to different Michael Jackson tunes. So, of course, when they do that, one of the songs they played was Beat It. You know how hard it was not to want to sing along to Beat It?
Oh, you must have been singing in your head at least.
I turned to my wife, Jackie, who was there with me, and we were like, they're playing the wrong lyrics.
How cool would it be if there was a Weird Al Cirque du Soleil
Oh,
show?
that would be incredible.
Oh, I would love that.
Maybe after the pinball machine, next step will be the Weird Al slot machine, then followed by the Weird Al Cirque du Soleil show.
That's awesome. Now, is there any other Weird Al related stuff? Did you go see if the book was at the pawn shop or anything?
I did stop in the pawn shop, and I did specifically look for the book, and it wasn't there.
Oh,
but that doesn't mean it's been sold, because they do often rotate, what they have out on display.
I mean, at whatever cost it was last time we looked, it probably wasn't sold.
Right. So I didn't specifically ask about it this time, but I did not see it. So
Okay,
let me just put it that way. So it may have sold, but probably not. They probably just rotated it out, for different stock.
Right.
So there is one more really cool Weird Al thing that happened while I was out there. Later we're going to Las Vegas, the both of us, to go see Weird Al on the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour.
Yes, of course. I know that.
So the place that he's playing in Las Vegas is called the Venetian. It's a big casino. And I actually went to the Venetian. As I'm walking through it, I noticed that they had up signage for the concert.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were several signs. I mean, they're electronic signs, so they're rotating through all the different acts that are going to be there. But, there was at least 3 different versions of the sign that I saw.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I took pictures with all of them, and I posted a few of them over on our official Facebook group, group.2000inch.com. So if you haven't seen those yet, go check those out. But we're going to have to definitely take a closer look at the Venetian when we're out there and see how many different advertisements we can find for these upcoming concerts.
Oh, I remember last time I saw Weird Al in Vegas, it was for the Mandatory World Tour. He was playing Planet Hollywood, and there were flags and stuff on banners on the street, and it was awesome. So I can't wait to see what kind of stuff is done even closer to the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I mean, Vegas really does everything overboard, so it's going to be really cool to see what kind of advertisements they have for Weird Al.
Well, Dave, it sounds like you had a nice vacation, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Dave, you may have been a tourist in Las Vegas, but that's not the only place to spend your hard-earned money, because this episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also close to seafood.
Darwin, Minnesota is only about a 33-mile drive from the nearest Red Lobster.
Now, you may wonder why someone visiting Darwin, Minnesota may want to go to a Red Lobster.
Well, for one, all entrees at Red Lobster come with 2 warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits.
I love warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits, Dave. And you know what? I always get extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits whenever I go to Red Lobster.
Extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits, you say? And how exactly does one get extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits? Not all of us are award-winning podcast hosts who happen to have interviewed Weird Al Yankovic,
Well, listen to this. That's the best part. Anyone can get extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Really? How?
All you need to do is order extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Now, wait a minute. You're saying if I want 6 extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits, all I need to do is order them?
Yes.
And if I want 12 extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits, I can order that too?
Yes.
Okay. But what if I want 27 extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits? Can I order that?
No.
What?
Extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits are only available in multiples of 6 or 12.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next extra warm house-made Cheddar Bay biscuit expedition. Discover Darwin, more than just a twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to...
Whoa, hold on a minute, Ethan. Weren't we going to read your first email interview with Weird Al?
Oh, yeah! Okay, let's do it. Oh, wait. Do you want to play Weird Al, or do you want to play me?
I mean, come on, I think that's pretty obvious.
You're right. Of course you want to play me. Well, sorry, Dave. I'm me.
That's not fair!
Not fair? Okay. How about we audition for the role of me?
All right, fine, let's do it.
Okay, let's both read the first Ethan part, and whomever does a better me will read my parts.
Deal. All right, Ethan, you're up first.
Are there any positive aspects of doing a show in Albany, New York?
Whoa, nice job. All right, this is going to be harder than I thought. Okay, here I go.
Are there any positive aspects of doing a show in Albany, New York? Whoa! Dave, that was incredible!
Yeah, I sort of surprised myself there. All right, well, I think that settles it. I will play you, and you will play Weird Al.
Let's do it.
Are there any positive aspects of doing a show in Albany, New York?
Yes, they will be paying me. Oh, and I understand there will be a seedless watermelon backstage.
Would you give yourself permission if you wanted to parody one of your originals?
Absolutely. It would be an honor. It would mean I've finally made it.
Which tracks from Alpocalypse deserve to be on your next Greatest Hits album?
Every single one. In fact, I'm considering just re-releasing Alpocalypse next year as Greatest Hits Volume 3.
Did you have any alternate album title ideas for Alpocalypse?
Sure, I've got a notebook full of album title ideas, but I don't want to give any away. You'll just have to wait.
Have you ever performed stand-up comedy?
Not as such, no. I've done comedy specials for MTV and VH1 and done various bits and sketches over the years, but I was never in the trenches doing the nightclub scene as a stand-up.
How many times do you listen to a song before you finish writing a parody?
237.
Do you recreationally listen to any of the songs you've parodied?
I try to avoid that, actually, because I'm afraid that might mess me up on stage. I might start singing the real words by accident.
Do you know all the lyrics to all of your songs from memory?
Oh, no. I'm lucky if I can remember all the words to the songs in my current tour.
When you're writing a song, do you consider how you would perform it on stage?
Not generally. The songs always have to work on their own merit, and I have on a number of times written songs that are virtually impossible to perform live. On occasion, though, particularly if I know I'm writing the lead single for an album, I may have the music video in mind while I'm writing lyrics.
Did you have to make any changes to your live show specifically for your Comedy Central special, which is now available on DVD and Blu-ray?
When I was putting together the set list for the Alpocalypse tour earlier this year, I already knew that it was going to be a Comedy Central special and DVD/Blu-ray, so I only wanted to have songs in the set list that I knew I could clear for broadcast and release. That's a big reason why, say, my unapproved James Blunt parody, You're Pitiful, is no longer in the live set. That's also why I pulled Dare to Be Stupid, even though it's a fan favorite. It was featured on my previous live DVD in 2000, and I wanted to make the new live show as different as possible.
Will we ever see a rarities album of your difficult-to-acquire legally songs?
I highly doubt it. That stuff is out there, though, so if you're tenacious enough, you can pretty much find everything I've ever done in my life online.
You're releasing a Blu-ray version of Alpocalypse on November 8th. Is it really a good idea to watch the video for Perform This Way in HD?
It depends if you want your nightmares in HD or standard definition.
Wow, Ethan, that was so much fun. Thank you for sharing that email interview with us.
Of course, Dave. I was always skeptical doing email interviews because you never know if it's the publicist or someone else answering the questions. But I think it was pretty obvious that that was, in fact, Al who answered everything in that email interview.
Absolutely.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Discover Darwin, and Jackson Scoggins.
Our podcast is also supported by everyone in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters, Adriana, Zeb, Scott, UH Jeff, Javier, Kenneth, Jake, Blair, Jared, Allison, Frank from the Bank, and also thanks to our new supporter Mark and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our family-friendly, wacky Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast and access to secret episodes. Plus, you can learn how to become a sponsor of the podcast. How cool.
And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. Our new line of We Hate Intern Frank merchandise makes a great gift for Stone Cold Steve Austin Day.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans. Join our Facebook community and post about Weird Al by visiting group.2000inch.com. And we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347-SPATULA. You might even hear your message in a future episode.
For everything about our podcast, including incredible past episodes and guests, be sure to visit WeirdAlPodcast.com or 2000inch.com. And while you're there, click on Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special bonus episode book series, where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his book page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thank you for subscribing and leaving reviews on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you're subscribed because it not only helps the podcast, it also pairs very nicely with warm, house-made Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Thank you once again to our guest making an appearance from Ethan's archives, Weird Al Yankovic. Also, thank you to Ethan Ullman, Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Ullman, WCDB 90.9 FM, Comedy Pipe Radio, Leon Ferry, the former Cotton Hill Studios, Jay Levy, and the Albany Student Press. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song. And I guess we'll thank Weird Al Yankovic again, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thank you to all of you, our listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to gill and chill.
Oh, Ethan, can you do me a favor and text William Shatner for me?
I'd rather not. What do you want me to text William Shatner?
Oh, I just really want you to ask him who he likes better.
What? Who he likes better? What do you mean?
Well, I just really want to know, does he like Kirk or does he like Picard?
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 150-inch.
Now, controversy-free.
If Taylor Hanson ever invites you to a songwriting retreat, I highly recommend it.